Five Nights at Freddy's. Even if you haven't played the immensely popular games, you've probably heard of it in some way, shape, or form, especially now that it literally has a movie coming out later this year. Heck, even my mom knows what Five Nights at Freddy's is. While it is a horror franchise that doesn't tremendously focus on power, like any series, it can be indeed power-scaled based off of lore and feats that we get from the sprawling story of the franchise spread across dozens of books, games, and other material. But even given that, who would be a fair match for the FNAF universe? Characters like Goku and Vegeta from Dragonball would probably be unfair, so let's pick someone even stronger. So today, we're gonna pit the most powerful Dragon Ball character in the franchise's entire lore and canon against the FNAF universe. Today, the ultimate, most deadly martial arts champion in the entire multiverse decides to work the night shift at Freddy Fazbears. Today, Mr. Satan tries to survive Five Nights at Freddy's. If you like stuff like this, make sure to check out Goji Chronic, who inspired this video with their Mike Tyson vs FNAF video. So after this one, make sure to check out theirs. For this matchup, we will be using Hercule from the Boo Saga versus the animatronics present in the FNAF 1 location: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy. Firstly, let's go over the circumstances and goals of either side. In this scenario, Freddy Fazbears Pizza is a real restaurant that exists somewhere in the world of Dragon Ball. It was formerly one of the most popular restaurants in Hercule City after the events of the Cell Saga. However, after a string of brutal murders and disappearances, the place has fallen into a state of partial disrepair. Concerned that something is going on there, the people of Hercule City ask their champion, Hercule, to investigate the pizzeria and potentially take down the mysterious costumed man who caused the 5 children to disappear, if he was still lurking somewhere within the pizzeria. Thus, while Hercule initially stays the night at the pizzeria to hopefully catch the killer, his goal would quickly shift to survival and self-protection as it quickly becomes clear that the animatronics are after him. Also, just in general, despite the fact that Hercule is a liar and a cheater, even in situations way above his pay grade, he does stick around and fight to protect himself. So we'll be giving him the benefit of the doubt that he isn't going to just run away at the first sign of something supernatural. Speaking of which, Hercule's outward denial of the supernatural, at least during the Cell games, may actually allow him to keep his cool better than most people. Even if he's just lying to himself to make himself feel better, saying that the animatronics are moving around because of smoke and mirrors or something like that might actually help him remain calmer. This might get challenged with the appearance of something like Golden Freddy, but we'll get into that later. As for the animatronics, they just mistake him for someone that they want to kill and get revenge on because they're the ghosts of the missing children. For whatever reason, they want Hercule dead, and they're going to do whatever they can to get that done. Next, let's go over how strong the characters actually are to see how they compare in raw stats, and we'll begin with Hercule. Notoriously, throughout the series, Hercule has taken strikes from the likes of Kid Buu and Cell. A lot of people jokingly saying this means that Hercule is actually like planetary in durability or something. Obviously, this is not the case. Even these villains were holding back their strength when hitting Hercule. We know that this is the case, as during the Boo Saga, Hercule isn't durable enough to survive getting shot by a normal handgun. This means that Hercule's durability likely isn't that much higher than a normal human, if at all. I'm not exactly a gun expert, but according to the military wiki, a shot from a pistol can range anywhere from over 150 to below 600 joules of force, which puts Hercule's durability somewhere between normal human and athlete level. However, Hercule's durability is actually his least impressive stat, despite what the jokes may seem. In the Daizenshu, Hercule's dynamite kick is described as actually being able to hit with the strength of a dynamite explosion, which would put his attack potency at wall level. However, Hercule's attack descriptions are a bit more parody in comparison to the other descriptions in the Daizenshu, as his Miracle Punch is described as being a sure-to-kill punch on any opponent, even though it literally and obviously doesn't work that way. Still though, during the Cell games, Hercule is shown smashing through 13 stone blocks that, while comedically weak in Dragon Ball standards, would still garner him wall levels of striking strength, which just makes the dynamite kick statement actually really consistent. For speed, Hercule's best feat is reacting to and jumping out of the way of a rocket fired at his house. RPGs can typically fire at a speed of 115 meters per second. While it's unclear how fast Hercule moved in comparison to the rocket, being able to just at least somewhat react to it is still immensely impressive for essentially a normal human, putting his speed at transonic at best. In the anime, Hercule gets shot while on guard rather than off guard. While he does disappear from the man's sight, he still gets hit by a bullet, putting his speed above 35 meters per second and below 390 meters per second. Once again, putting his speed below transonic but above supersonic. Certainly faster than a normal human, but nowhere near the speed of sound. Will this be strong enough to take on Fazbear's band? Let's find out. Let's begin with speed this time, as it is one of the tougher things to figure out. As one of the main game mechanics of FNAF is that the characters don't exactly move on camera, it is often a bit difficult to determine how exactly fast these animatronics are actually moving. However, there are some instances of animatronics during jump scares or moving between cameras that actually do give us a better understanding of their speed. For example, in FNAF 2, instead of just popping up and scaring the player, Foxy jumps a large distance in a short period of time. This feat has been calced to be right on the cusp of superhuman speed at 12 meters per second. Another instance is Springtrap moving between vents in FNAF 3 at a slightly faster 18 meters per second. These should both scale to the FNAF 1 animatronics, given how Foxy is the damaged version of the FNAF 1 Foxy, and Springtrap is just a guy who's been rotting for several decades in a suit that crippled his body. For attack potency, the best feat the animatronics do in the main games are stuff a human body into the suits and crush skulls with their biting strength. Crushing a skull is generally less impressive than crushing an entire human body, obviously, but we only really ever see on screen the direct results of an animatronic bite during the bite of 87, or is this the bite of 83, or a completely different incident? I'm not entirely sure. Either way, full body stuffing is implied during the FNAF 1 phone calls, when the phone guy both implies a human could be crushed and stuffed into a suit so hard that their eyes pop out, while the animatronics may also be capable of forcibly shoving an endoskeleton into someone, something that could probably crush all the organs and bones in someone's body. Regardless, these feats should be low to high-end wall level in power. Unfortunately, there's not much else to go off of for the animatronics, as again, a lot of the lore of FNAF is implied rather than shown. So let's just move on to answering the big question. Can Hercule survive? The one major stat that Hercule has an advantage in is speed, making it extremely difficult for the animatronics to get a hold of him. However, due to the fact that both the FNAF crew and Hercule have very comparable stats and attack potency, they would be capable of damaging each other should they come to blows. So, is it as simple as Hercule running in, pummeling the animatronics, and running out? Not exactly. You see, one major limitation Hercule has is that while yes, he can perform superhuman feats, he can't do them for very long. Simply jumping away from the rocket and beating up two normal human men left Hercule sweating and severely tired. In this scenario, he has to beat up 4 enemies who can't feel pain, don't get tired, and are more durable than the men he was beating up. So, it's likely that while Hercule could rush in and beat up maybe one of the animatronics, like Chica or Bonnie, by the time he had torn it apart enough to the point where it couldn't fight back, he'd be so tired he probably could not handle the other 3. Even if we give Hercule the supreme benefit and say he could handle them, there would also be the issue of Golden Freddy. Given how Golden Freddy doesn't seem to be around all the time in the FNAF location, Hercule might never come across him, at least treating it like the game mechanics do, as it's possible to go through all 5 Nights at Freddy's without ever encountering it. If Golden Freddy does show up, Hercule has literally no defense against it, given how it's a teleporting spirit who causes hallucinations and in FNAF 2 can straight up kill the player. So, unfortunately, could Hercule survive 5 Nights at Freddy's? Well, yes, actually. If Hercule does just play the role of the night guard, managing power and closing the doors when he's supposed to, he should be fine. After all, his reaction time should be better than the actual night guard working there, but that feels like a cop-out. If Hercule just avoids all conflict, there's not a fight then. So, in a real fight though, it's likely that he'd actually lose, unless he brings Majin Buu as backup. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. This was more of a less serious topic, but I think it was pretty interesting. As always, if you disagree with my takes, let me know how I'm wrong in the comments down below. See ya!